Good evening, and you are welcome to our podcast recording. Is a part of requirements for conflict 723, gender and conflict, taken by Professor Chandler Shedrin of ESCA. And I am Onyachukuma Godwin. With me is
Richard Tafara Nenge.
Exactly. Now, Richard, may I start by asking you, what actually, your topic says child marriage in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
What actually got you interested in the topic?
Well, I got interested in this topic because I'm originally from Zimbabwe, and I actually have experienced a lot of, or come across a lot of child marriage experiences taking place in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
So because of that, I got interested in trying to understand what child marriage is all about, because to me it affects children, because children are not supposed to be married. And so again, I had to look at it from a cultural perspective. And again, in Southern Africa in general, Zimbabwe is in the Southern African region, there is this problem of HIV and AIDS. And so because of that, I have discovered that, or I've come across incidences whereby children who are getting married, who are disadvantaged, are ending up suffering from HIV and AIDS.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. But while doing the study, what approach was the format of your study? What approach did you take?
Well, my approach, I started looking at the causes. What is it that causes child marriage to take place? So my approach started by looking at the background of the cultural background in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
What is it that is acceptable as a cultural practice? And I've noted that child marriage was a practice that was there in the ancient times, but not necessarily something that was carried to say, well, every child should be married. There were certain conditions that were followed. But now, in the modern context, people are taking advantage of that situation, because in the ancient times, child marriage was done in order to, say, pay for some what would I say? Say a family has done something wrong to another family, they would sort of take a girl child to compensate, say in the event of a death, say my family has killed someone.
Oh, I see.
Then, in order to compensate the death of that individual who has been killed, a girl child was taken over as payment.
That's great. Now, how did the conflict in its entirety affect women?
Well, it affects women in the sense that child marriage does not respect human values. It does not respect human rights.
You're right.
Because we have human rights. The human rights laws internationally clearly stipulates that every child or every woman has a right to decide whatever he or she wants to do.
You're right.
So, from that context, I can see that women are affected socially, economically, physically, and mentally.
Oh, so bad. Then, by the time you came to the conclusion of the study, what actually were your findings and recommendations?
Oh, when I did my study, I found out that child marriage has continued to be a very, very serious issue, not just in Zimbabwe, but Africa and the entire world. And so my recommendation, especially for Zimbabwe, is to say that a lot of there's need for education, to educate people about the consequences concerning child marriage. And again, since we are saying that through child marriage, you are infringing human rights.
Okay.
So I recommend that there is need for education, to educate the communities that are using old traditions or old cultural practices that are no longer amenable with the modern world or modern times. Yes.
That's a good study and a very wonderful congratulations for your study.
Thank you.